Morning, everyone. Sunday, May 5th, 2018. Last video, I indicated to you that I would probably show you my shop where I earn the vast majority of my income. And matter of fact, all of my income is derived from my cabinet shop, and I'm just going to show you my small cabinet shop that I started up a couple of years ago, but I actually consider the present version of it to be only not even a year old, because that's when we got some of our main machinery. Now my shop is very small, but we produce a fair amount of work out of it. I've had the grand opportunity to be in many different kinds of shops, large shops, smaller shops, and larger shops just obviously do more work. They have a lot more space than they need. It's actually extremely inefficient the way a lot of shops use their space, but that's up to them, and if they can afford to do that, that's great. But we put out a fair amount of work out of our shop in the past 8 months. It's been absolutely incredible. Probably a little too much, or not. The word "little" is not really descriptive of. We did way too much out of here, and it was very, very difficult. And but you know, when you get new machinery like I did, it sometimes you're so anxious to get it going that sometimes you take on more than you need to take on. It was a real test of what we could accomplish within a 7 or 8 month period. Quite a test. So now we know. I always use the word "we" because I do have one worker, and also sometimes I hire out site installation as well. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour just to show you what we're up against and what we have, and we can go from there. So here we are over here. This is the part that you saw from my introduction to my shop. That's the back there. So we have a lot of the portable tools that are back here. Some of you may recognize those. Those are Festool tools back there. That's how I originally started off. Don't necessarily recommend that, but Festool is a phenomenal product, and they are a premium cost. But the reason that they're premium is because they are the best. There's no doubt about it, and that's how I started off. This past week, my worker and we spent time just organizing things, and because of the size of the shop, what we did, we had I built these tables, which was always in the plan, and the idea is that the sheet goods that come in are placed underneath the tables, so that space there is used completely. And then this area here is for completed cabinets as we assemble on top of the cabinets, and then they're placed here. They go out to the trailer or they go into storage. Over here is just one area where we place the cut pieces, and that area down there will be utilized as well. So right now we just have tool bags that will be placed in the van, and so that we'll be rid of that fairly soon. And of course we have the charging station here for our assembly drills and the necessary clamps depending on what type of work. I do heat with electric and with wood. So far it's been working quite well. My insurance doesn't necessarily like it, even though it's done properly. That is something that will probably go this coming year, and we'll probably end up working with either with dried propane or some other method. What's becoming quite popular is a heat exchange unit, or rather what they call a heat pump. So that's becoming quite popular out here. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but they say it's quite efficient. But so the walls are efficiently insulated. They're insulated quite well. Plus we have vapor barrier as well. So, and we have dual pane windows brand, except for that one. That's not a new one. That's actually taken from the house. So this here is an edge bander, Cassadai edge bander. So it bands the edges of the sheet goods. Runs on 3-phase power. We have our dust collection system here. And I was also just finishing off the other day, I was finishing off air compressor distribution. That air compressor will eventually be changed. We don't use a lot of compressed air here, but when we do, I need it for this machine to do. It doesn't use a lot of air, as well as the hinge boring machine uses air as well for the clamps. So very little air is actually used in the shop, but for what we do use, that seems to be sufficient. But there's a new type of compressor that I have a tremendous interest in. It's a silent air compressor, and very interested in that new technology. And it's from what I understand, the cost is quite a bit more than the typical type of compressor, but it's well worth it in my view. This here is SCMI 410 Classic. It is a multi-purpose machine. So having said it's multi-purpose, meaning that it does many things, but you can only do one thing at a time. But for a shop my size, it's perfect. You know, we use a lot. We work with a lot of sheet goods, hence the sliding panel. Well, it's called a panel sub, a sliding table, and of course that's pretty slick, isn't it? And that it just does perfect cuts all the time. Then we have a jointer, 16, 18-inch jointer, and we have the thickness planer that's underneath that runs under the same motor. That's under there. Then we have a shaper right here. Runs under a separate motor. And of course we have a mortise and tenoning machine right here, which I have not used yet. As a matter of fact, I just finished hooking it up. And so the main thing that we have is the panel subs, the main thing that we use, and of course the thickness planer and the jointer. Those are the three operations that we do on this machine. And the reason I chose this machine because of our limited space. So we have to be very efficient with our time and who is doing what, and we don't seem to run into any hiccups. Just with one person or two people running the machine, and it's a beautiful machine. It's been working really well. I have it running on single phase. Because I cannot get 3-phase out here. And even though this has a 3-phase converter on it, I did not have that before I ordered this, I should say. So, and that's fine. I have the power from the single phase 240 is really, really powerful. I have no issues with the power on single phase. And, so that's the machine from SCM. It's an Italian brand. The majority of cabinet shops have machines from either Italy or Germany. They're the top manufacturers of machinery. The reason I went this route as well, not only because it reduces and keeps my footprint small, but later on because as shops these days expand, they go into CNC machinery. And in my view, it didn't make a lot of sense to take up any new space or future space with or existing space with 5 different machines when I can encapsulate it in one machine. And the idea again is not to create an environment of expansion, but create an environment of sustainable revenues running through the business, not necessarily to increased capacity, because it's my personal opinion that you're just reaching for the bottom dollar rather than reaching for a sustainable methodology, and that's my claim. Whether or not that claim is valid, I guess, is to be determined. But based on what I've seen out there, it's quite valid, and there are companies that are successful, and I just want to be one of them that does it that way. That's a typical miter, compound miter saw. I do want to get a digital gauge for it. And digital gauges, as well as a fence that runs an automatic digital fence on that. And I want the same as well for that saw. Right now, it's just, we're very happy with what it does, and the tremendous accuracy and quality that we get out of there is, I'm very, very pleased with it. So that's my shop. Right now, you don't see any work being done here, because this past week was the first week that we did not have anything in the shop, and that is done by design, because I needed a rest, because of the pace that I was going at. And we do have one small project that just came in here, but it is extremely small. It's just a few days, and we'll get that done for our client. And yeah, so that's where we're at. There's our beautiful fridge that we keep lots of different kind of water in there. Not lots of different. I mean, we have carbonated water, which seems to be a bit of a fetish of mine, as well as bottled water, and of course dust collection, which is very, very important, right? We have dust collection. One of the things as well that I'll be getting on the next projects coming through, which I'm already set for with those electric outlets, I will be putting air filters in here. Even though the dust collection system does a vast majority of the work, it's the fine dust and collects fine dust as well. But I want a constant recirculating filtering system in here as well. And so that's one thing that I still want. So glad to be able to share that with you, and I hope you've enjoyed that little tour of my shop. We're just under 1,000 square feet in here, and there's a lot of shops out there would kind of snicker under their breath at seeing a shop of this size. But trust me, we put out a lot of work in this shop, and it's amazing the size of projects that we've taken on in the past 7 or 8 months that we were successful at. And right now we're trying to build a reputation of quality and speed, which is in the commercial industry is what's required. And for a small shop, we faced challenges, but no different than any other shop faces challenges of trying to commit to the same thing. So yeah, glad to share that with you, and hope you enjoyed it. And then later on, I'll make a video also of what I'm doing in the hoop house, and I'll share that with you as well. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.